Region Review.
The Ragin' Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Ragin' Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's that team ready? Who's that team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and germs, welcome in to another edition of the Ragin' Review podcast. Nick, Comrade Cole, a.k.a. Josh, a.k.a. Man About Town, a.k.a. Cole, a.k.a. Matt, and Lane. What's up, boys?
What's going on?
What it do?
I know you like all them little shawses, them little nicknames. We gotta, man, you got too many, bro.
I know. Do people still say what it do, or is that's been phased out for a while?
I mean, say, do what you want, bro. Look, hey, if the president can say what he wants, we can say what we want. I'm just saying.
I'm glad we have stat guy. No, we changed the name. I'm just glad we have fact checker.
Yeah.
Fact checker Lane. I mean, we can't do a show without being right now, especially now all the heat we get from the outside.
Yeah, no kidding. Today was Marshall fans for me, man. I pissed them off. I don't even know how I pissed them off. I don't remember, but they were all after me.
Because you said they weren't smart.
Oh, yeah. No, they said we weren't smart. They said some idiot Cajun fan was on fifth grader, and I posted the R1, and they're like R2. And then it was like, well, you're just stupid because you're spending all day on social media arguing with burners. I'm like, dude, you're spending all day on social media as a burner arguing with me. Like, who's dumber? I think we're both dumb in this situation.
In all fairness, like in West Virginia, even getting into college is a big deal. So shout out to them.
Well, having all your teeth is a big deal, so shout out to them. All right, moving on, boys. We had a lot of baseball stuff. We had a lot of stuff going on this week. We had the basketball tournament. We had softball getting absolutely hammered at Mississippi State. And, of course, the boys, the good guys, got a win over UNCW. I think that was Wednesday night. I'm lost in my days, but they did get a win. Final score 6-5, a little bit closer, Josh, than I thought it should have been. They were up 6-4 through 6, so you're thinking, okay, we're in good shape. Our bullpen kind of gave us a few tense moments there in the later innings of the game, but we did have, I think it was Marcotte that came in and closed it out, was it not? And
it looked really good doing it. Honestly, that's the best he's ever looked. And UNC Wilmington is a good quality program, and their lineup is capable. You saw them fight throughout the entire game. A lot of 2-out knocks, a lot of hit and run, a lot of action pitches that got put in play. So, I mean, look, I hate going into the midweek when we know we're going to see 8 guys, but Marcotte, I think he stood out for me.
I do too. I agree with you, Lane. I mean, your thoughts. Again, I think that's what stood out to me was Marcotte coming out and shutting the door. UNCW, man, I think they had 3 or 4 hit and runs in a row that were just executed to perfection. So what we try to be and do, they did. And I think that's what was so scary about it. And we'll talk about maybe some of the gree in the dugout. But first, before we get to that, what did you think about the game against UNCW this weekend?
So honestly, I was worried because they had, like, at one point they had 8 or 9 hits and we had 1, but we were still winning. And I was like, something's bound to happen to where they'll come back and take it from us. But I was glad to see Marcotte shut them down there at the end. It was good to get off the losing streak for sure. And hopefully we'll get a few wins this weekend.
Yeah, we need to build off of that because let me tell you, last weekend was not pretty. But good to see Juhas. I mean, that tower, that fly ball still may not. I mean, they may be like Elon. Elon may have taken possession of that fly ball because it's out of the stratosphere. But it was good to see him kind of get his bat going. He had 2 hits and that bomb over the pine trees. outside of that, we only had, I think, 5 hits in the game versus their 12. But the fact that we made the hits count, maybe that's a good sign of things to come. I don't know. I'm just trying to find something positive with our bats right now, man, because we're struggling. If our bats come alive, our pitching lets us down. If our pitching is great, our bats don't come around. Same story every year, Josh. We talk about this every single season at the beginning of the year.
I know. Look, we can talk about offense in a minute, but I wanted to say to kind of put a bow on the Marcotte situation, that's the best he's ever looked, but he looked unflappable, and he was in some hot grease there at the end. I think pretty much everybody thought, okay, here we go again. He's going to give up a hit. I think they had scored a run, and they were first and second with maybe no outs or 1 out, and we found a way out of it. Double play ball always helps that.
I want to say it was first and third.
First and third, nobody out.
Yeah,
1 out.
I think they scratched the one.
I think there was like 1 out or something like that. Yeah,
yeah, and then the double play really got him. We got out of the jam, but we've seen so many times already this year where our pitchers have rocky innings just because they have traffic on the base pass. You got to give credit to Marcotte right there, and there were a couple. Yeah, you'll see that Dilhoff has been the left-handed Jack Martinez.
Man, you guys be nice. Come on.
I like him.
Now.
He's a power lefty out of the pen. I mean, at some point he'll figure it out. I think he's making a big step up coming up to pitch in D1 and pitching against top 25 ball clubs the majority of the year. So I'm going to give him a little bit of slack. I still think he possesses tremendous stuff. My biggest issue with Dilhoff right now is you got to throw strikes, dude. And, you can't be effective if you pitch around and you try to hit the black every time. Sometimes you're just going to have to challenge these guys. And to this point, he'll reel off 6, 7, 8 balls in a row, and you just can't have that. You just can't. You can't put yourself behind 8 ball like that, not against teams that we've been playing. So it's true. He can't find the zone sometimes. Hopefully they can figure that out, but he possesses the stuff to be very effective. If he can pound the strike zone. A lot of times that happens with these pitchers when they make that step up.
Yep.
They don't want to directly attack a hitter.
I like the way he's backing off of that, though. I'm not trying to be mean. Yeah, these players watch this and they are on Twitter too, bro. So you have your real name out there. They're coming out to you, but it's not. I mean, it's not a lie. I mean, his criticism is true. He's struggled on the mound. I mean, I think Dilhoff would tell you that.
Well, you saw his reaction when he walked off the mound. He's basically cussing himself out, and I would do the same thing. Totally get it. He has too much quality in his stuff to not be able to find a strike zone like that. We got to eliminate that. So that, yeah, Marcotte good. I'll say for the millionth time, I hate the way that we do midweek games. I know a lot of people go to that. I know they're trying to get reps. I know it. I just don't like it. But offensively, as much as we complained about Donkey getting the leadoff spot, and I still think it's absurd. It worked in that game. Doesn't mean it was the right move. But watching him hit a tank and then come back and have 3 more quality at bats, or at least 2 more quality at bats, you got to be happy for him. Like we talked about, maybe on the way to Irvine, he found himself a slump buster. So shout out to that nice young lady for helping out their Donkey. We need him in the lineup. I mean, even if he's down by 5, 6, 7 hole, we need some power in the lineup. He provides a ton of it. We just got to find some consistency. It seems like the book's kind of out on Brooks Wright, so they're starting to pitch around him, and he's having a little bit of a difficulty. We knew that was going to happen. You got to adjust to the adjustment. We still need guys. 5 hits against a midweek starter at Wilmington is not going to get it done. We won the game. Yes, wonderful. I'm glad we won the game. UNC Wilmington dropped a fly ball that basically gifted us a run or 2. We can't. That's not something that's sustainable.
Well, what about their starting pitcher, Morris? I mean, he gave up 2 runs without giving up a hit.
Oh, we couldn't touch the baseball.
Right.
Couldn't touch the baseball. Put him behind. How many times have we been trailing in this season? I bet if we played 100 innings, we've trailed in 90 of them. I mean, it's just we're constantly getting in our own way. And I'm not saying anybody in particular. It's just like we're not playing complimentary baseball. Even when we go up, like when we were playing Irvine, we put some runs on the board, and then we give up a big inning. What do we have? 12 solo home runs? 12 home runs on the season. 12 of them are solo.
All solo, yeah. That's incredible.
That's one of the most odd stats I think we've ever come across. So offensively, we need a couple more slump busters. We used to have slump busters that they pass around. Maybe we could go back to that. Shout out to, well, no, I can't say that. But yeah, I think the guys are just, unfortunately, too many guys are trying to find traction at the same time. I guess the positive way to look at that is when they all kind of kick it into gear, it'll be something worth seeing, kind of like what happened in the middle of the season last year. Although I don't think we possess the ability that last year's team did at the plate. So offensively, it's just not good. It's not good right now. It's not good.
I agree. I mean, you look at what UNCW did. Oh, I'm sorry, Josh. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying that Power Surge at Irvine, you had a small park. Now, I know it was 408 to center, but it was a small park and the wind was blowing out. That's not going to happen everywhere. I mean, that Lane and I could have hit bombs that day.
Yeah, for sure, Lane. I don't know about you, Josh. Maybe you would have gotten it out of the infield. But you looked at the way that UNCW played the game. I was impressed by their poise at the plate. I know they didn't win the game, but I think kind of their approach at the plate is what we want to see. I mean, we should be the guys that are getting the 3 or 4 hit and runs in a row. We should be the guys that every leadoff hitter in the inning gets on base. We should be the guys putting pressure, and you didn't really feel that, again, outside of, like you said, a drop fly ball, and then the first inning we get 2 runs off of no hits. That's tough. It's tough to watch. So
I don't know how you guys like grade what you watch. I don't really know if everybody pays attention in depth like that, but I judge the quality of an offense by quality of bats. Do you put the ball in play when it needs to be? Are you able to? One thing that this team, our team, does well is I feel like we've gotten a lot better with the bunt. The bunt game is better in 2025, and I'm happy to see it. But like on action pitches, we're not good. We're bad on action pitches. We cannot put the ball in play on a hit and run to save our lives. It's not good. It's bad. First to third is an adventure. Base running again for the 5th year in a row is an adventure. I doubt I doubt the awareness on the base paths. I don't get how we can still have these struggles, reading the ball in the dirt and all this stuff. We're still making very boneheaded mistakes. And that's what you saw UNC Wilmington do really well. They were, like you said, constantly putting pressure, but the quality ABs, the strikeouts in poor situations are in high leverage situations. You didn't see them do that. You saw us do it all night. Again, we did it at Irvine. We've done it even in Nebraska when we played well. We still didn't string together several quality at bats. And I don't need you to hit the ball in the gap every time you come up, but can you put the ball in play? Can you hit it to the opposite side of the field when we just need to advance our runner? Can you get the bunt down? Can you get a sac fly? Well, we're not asking for fireworks. Can we just do the basics, things you learn in high school? So the offense just has a whole long way to go. And I don't think that that's like a hot take or anything. We're all watching the games. I think the players themselves would tell you, we're not playing complimentary baseball, and we're not executing when the time comes to execute.
I agree. And before we move on, Lane, I just want to say, if you could fact checker Lane, maybe find out. I tried to look this up. I couldn't find the stat. I want to know where we rank nationally in strikeouts. Not by pitcher, by hitter, because I feel like we got to be, if not number 1, number like 10. We got to be in the top 10 in strikeouts in the country behind the plate.
Strikeouts per 9 has to be astronomical.
Yeah, at the plate. So it's hard to find because everything in strikeouts per 9 was about the pitching. I'd like to find out about the hitter. So if you could, Mr. You got homework now, bro. Maybe you could do that while you're in the stands with Section A today. Not really, maybe. But one thing I did also want to address, Lane, we had a raccoon in the dugout, and I'm kind of sad that didn't catch on. I tried to text Video Brian. I tried to text somebody and say, hey guys, get a camera in the dugout if you can, because they're trying to fight a raccoon in there. UNCW posted that on their social media, which was kind of funny. It would have been even better had it been, we had video of it. But Lane, you were actually the one that brought it to my attention. What did you see, or did you hear, or what was it that like drew your attention that there was a freaking raccoon in the visitors' dugout?
So at first I was like up in the stadium club getting something to drink, and then I saw the group text of Section A that they're like, there's a raccoon in the dugout. I'm like, what? Like, that's weird. And they apparently went to go get like these big giant trash cans to try and capture it. It took them pretty much till the 9th inning to capture it. I'm like,
was that raccoon bothering anybody, or was it
it was just eating food or snacks?
I think
it apparently likes goldfish.
Yeah, they were throwing goldfish and stuff at it. Like, just let it be, man. Could have been their little rally coon. I don't know.
You can rely on Mother Nature to do what the administration can't. Give us a mascot.
All it's a cycle of life, I guess, or I don't know. It's something. It's some Shaws that is in the air. I'm okay with that. If that's how we get a freaking mascot, I'm okay with it. But I didn't want to mention that. I thought it was pretty funny.
They started calling him Clifford, I think it was. Somebody named him, gave him a Raging Cajun shirt. That's the kind of stuff we need. We need an organic story. I guess that would be Ryan actually said it's the Raging raccoon asses.
Now that's funny.
It started making its way around.
That is funny. Now look,
media.
if we could actually, our organic stuff was actually accepted by the university, maybe that would be great. But again, I digress. All right, moving on to the Dallas Baptist Patriots, who come into the game looking very impressive after an 11-0 two-hit win against OU earlier this week. Their record is 9-3 on the season. They've got weekend sweeps against North Dakota State and SIU Edwardsville. Now, North Dakota State isn't that great. SIU Edwardsville, not that great. However, again, they've won 2 out of 3 against Oral Roberts, and then a big 11-0 win over number 10 Oklahoma. Absolutely incredible showing for them. And then, of course, now they come in ranked. What are they ranked? I think they're ranked like number 17 in one of the polls right now. Had a great conversation with Reagan Ratcliffe, and Josh, I look forward to hearing some of your takeaways from that interview. But as far as pitching goes, it looks like Micah Buckham will get the start tonight. Elwanger will get the start tomorrow night, and then they will follow that up with Ryan Schweed on Sunday. Micah Buckham comes from LSU. They're all, I think, all right-handed pitchers. 6'1", 212 junior from British Columbia. So he's a lot like LP Langevin. He is their Canadian wonder. And then offensively, look, DBU is known to be a power hitting team. Impressive performance so far this season by Grant J. He is their catcher, hitting .442 on the season with 7 home runs in the last 7 games. Joey Nerat is also hitting above 400. Probably not gonna overpower us and hit balls out of the ballpark in this big stadium at the T, because he's only got 1 homer on the season. But I think he's gonna swing it all over the place as well. But Grant J, 442, 19 RBIs. 4 doubles, 1 triple, 7 homers on the season. And then their number 2 hitter is their first baseman, hitting .354. He's got 3 doubles and 2 homers with 17 RBIs. So these guys know how to score. They average about 8 runs per game. Josh, that's just a very, very brief outlook on what their starting pitching and what their offense looks like. They're very sound defensively. And as Reagan said, they're a damn good team, man. And we're going to have to play good baseball this weekend. But any takeaways from our conversation with the voice of the Patriots?
Yeah, the kid that's hitting .442, I think in his previous 2 years in college baseball has hit over 20 home runs in each season. I think he hit 21 as a freshman. So this is not a fluke, not a one-hit.
He's hit 21 home runs the last 2 years.
21. So this is a guy that has real power. Now, one thing that helps us tonight and probably tomorrow, and the weather might become an issue. Hopefully it'll be at night. But the park's going to play big tonight. It's hot. The air is heavy. The humidity is set in. So tonight the T is going to play big. That helps us. Not saying that they're not going to score runs, just saying I wouldn't expect a whole lot of balls to be flying over the fence. I think that they have, if you look at their lineup top to bottom, they have a lot. They have several tools from different players. It's not just a power hitting team. They're going to put the ball in play. They're not going to strike out a whole lot. Nick mentioned their schedule. Yes, they've beaten some teams on the weekend that aren't eye-popping, but if you look at the rest of their schedule, they do have a couple of midweeks against quality opponents. I know they did play LSU in the Frisco Classic. I think that thing was kind of close for a little while, and then LSU ended up running away with it. TSAP started running away with it. But I look at their pitching, and really to me, it's I know it kind of gets old of me saying it, but it's on the bump. I think their Friday guy hits 98. Is he the transfer from TSAB? The guy that's on Friday?
Comes from there. Yes, that's correct.
I'm pretty sure he's topping out at 98. And we haven't seen anything like that this year. I know everybody that they're going to start this weekend is coming from the right side. Seemed to work out for Irvine pretty good. My entire rant about how having all the left-handed bats in the lineup for us didn't exactly work out. Although Higgs seems like he's seeing it well. And I think Lee is coming along too. You see Stelly's kind of heating up. We talked about that last week. But it's individuals, man. You know, we got to put it together, and we have to score runs as a team. We are at our best when we play complementary, short game, long game, all those things. But they're going to pitch it, period. I'd be shocked if we see a 5-7 game. I think it's going to be 4-2. I think it's going to be 3-1, that kind of thing. a good old-fashioned Friday night slobber knocker tonight. Unfortunately, no Simo. Supposedly he has tendonitis, and that's why you're going to see Holzhammer start. I can't imagine what the plan is. We saw Matthew Wednesday came in, pitched a bit, right? Pretty sure we saw him Wednesday.
Yeah, he would pitch like a third or two.
Yeah, it was Johnny Holstaff. We saw everybody pitch on Wednesday.
So who knows how long he'll go? I don't know. I think his career long is like maybe 2 2/3. We haven't seen much longevity out of Holzhammer. I think that he absolutely suits a bullpen arm. He's a high, he has a very violent delivery. He's a high effort pitcher. Not a lot of smooth stuff going on. He reminds me of how Demo used to release the baseball and how he set up and everything. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just curious to see how he is in a starting role. And it sounds like he's healthy, so that's a great thing. But as far as Saturday and Sunday, obviously McGehee has lost his position on Saturday unless he's hurt. I don't understand why you go away from him there. Look, it wasn't good against Irvine, but it's concerning to me that we're running away from him that quickly. It is. I'll be honest. If you have faith in the guy and all the things that we've heard, how good he is and how much he's improved, and something not making sense there. I don't know. Well, I don't know if they want to mix it up or what.
I think there's a couple of concerns. One is that we still have 2 midweek games and then play Troy. So if you got Holzhammer that's not going to go out and throw 8 innings for you on a Friday night, you don't know who's getting the start on Saturday or Sunday. You can't really hold staff it this weekend because you still need 2 starters against Southern and McNeese. And look, Southern, I get it, SWAC team. They're always solid in baseball. McNeese already beat us once this season, very capable to do that once again. And then you go into Troy. So I don't know. I don't know what their philosophy or strategy is. I don't know if Chase's, and like you said, I think Carson brought it up. What's wrong with Chase? You said it, tendonitis. I mean, is that going to keep him out all weekend? Are they thinking he might get the start tomorrow? Are they going to reverse pitch and have him on Sunday? I don't know. That's going to be a very big key to this series. Lane, it sounds like Josh and I are both on the same page. It starts on the bump this weekend. Your thoughts? I mean, obviously, offensively, we've got to be tougher at the plate, but I really think it's going to start on the bump and how we perform on the mound. Your thoughts about this weekend series?
Yeah, I agree. Their best pitcher ERA wise is actually the Sunday pitcher, so it's kind of odd that he's the Sunday guy, but
he's got good stuff though, man. I told Reagan I've seen him pitch this season, and the guy's not going to overpower you, but he pitches the contact, and he's damn good at it. So that's what scares me about Sunday. So we got to pick up a win before then.
I want to say the Friday guy has like a 5.8 ERA. So I mean, he's giving up runs. It's just a matter of if we can string a couple hits together to get guys home. But I agree, the pitching is the biggest concern, especially for us. Wasn't expecting Holzhammer to start because we just found out the news about Chase yesterday. So it's going to be hard to manage that, especially when we have 5 games next week. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we don't strike out a lot this weekend. I believe we have a total of 128 strikeouts on the year.
Jeez. That's insane.
Yeah. 124, sorry. 124.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the deal. If we were hitting the ball all over the place and then striking out because we're aggressive, and that I understand, but we're just striking out and not doing a whole lot with it. So that's, to me, what is the most concerning.
And I noticed, like, at least in the UNC Wilmington game, there was some guys that just weren't swinging at pitches. I mean, if you're going to strike out swinging.
Wasn't that bases loaded, 2 outs, and we sit there and watch 3 straight pitches with the ball on your shoulder? You can't do that, man. You got to at least be competitive at the plate.
I think, to that point, I think Connor Cuff is one of the most polarizing players. He just looks so impressive in the field, at the plate. And man, he looks bad sometimes. And I say this with love. I was singing his praises before the season, and he ripped the shit out of one, maybe later in the innings, maybe the 8th inning, I think, and drove home 2. The kid possesses a massive amount of talent, but we can't stare at fastballs with the bases loaded. Like that's just something. Like, if you're going to make a mistake, go down with aggression. I think that's one of the things that Diggs preaches to these guys is if we're going to make a mistake, let's just do it with some fervor. You can't go up there and it just was a weak look, and I'm not killing the kid. I'm just saying it just didn't look good. It didn't look like you were being aggressive and hunting the fastball. It was the opposite of that. But back to pitching, like if our goal is to try to win a series Sunday with Johnny Holstaff, that's not a plan. That's not a plan. And if we're doing that in game, 9, 10, and 11, then that's super concerning. That's super concerning, man. I think we have – look, Southern, you're going to run out a bunch of kids. You're going to run out a bunch of freshmen. And then McNeese, they're coming here. You think that you can get through it with your mid-level guys. There's no reason why we can't throw out mid-level guys and hopefully scratch across 6, 7, 8 runs to win that game. Like, we got to win the series. And honestly, we don't match up well because they will swing the bat. And not having Chase – say what you want about Chase. I know his numbers aren't like all-American like we thought he might be, but he's been very good. His whip is still very good. His stuff is still elite. He's made a couple of mistakes, and unfortunately it's cost him. And in that game against Irvine, he got squeezed on a pitch, and then on the very next pitch, kid hit it out the park. And that's literally the only mistake he made. He still sets the tone. He still sets the tone for the weekend. Not having him on Friday against the DBU, that is very tough. And I think I don't want people to gloss over that, and I don't think they are because everybody pretty much knows how valuable he is. But look, this is a team that went to UT Rio Grande Valley and got their doors blown off. This is not Texas or Tennessee. We can go out there and compete and play well and have a chance to win the game. But we got to get serviceable pitching. We have to. And not having Simo on Friday, I like the idea maybe of the reverse pitch, especially because of the surprise of the guy on Sunday. If that's the case, I'll give it to him. That's a little bit of a mind game, gamesmanship. Great. If you want to go stick Simo on Sunday, but what does that really do to the rotation going into conference? That's kind of what I'm looking at. Like, are you going to tinker with the rotation going into Troy the next weekend? Number one, I don't think they would do that. Number two, I don't think I like that. So there's a lot of questions to be answered this weekend, but also you got to be looking ahead to, like you guys said, a 5-game week and Troy. Troy's, if not the best team in our conference, is the second best.
And one of the better teams that we'll probably face early in the season. You know?
Certainly one of the better offenses, Nick.
Yeah, definitely. And we got to put our pitching together for that. So you alluded to a question I was going to ask in a little bit. So I'll ask it now. You said we got to win this series. Some people are saying this is must win. I'm not trying to push the panic button, but is this a must win series going into conference play, or is this a must win week? I think maybe we gotta have a winning week. And when I say week, the next 5 games, we got to win 3. Your thoughts about, I mean, is this a must win series? Do we need to win 3 out of 5? Like, what are your thoughts? Because we got to get it together quick with conference starting in just a couple of days.
I agree. It depends on your point of view. Depends on where you're coming from. I want to be an at-large bid. I don't want to have to win a tournament. And we can hoop and holler about strength of schedule and strength of out-of-conference schedule. If we limp into the conference, if we start conference play at 6 and 9, the out-of-conference strength of schedule only helps us from a developmental standpoint. It doesn't help us on RPI. So if you're looking at it from a postseason standpoint, we got to take a series. Nebraska's overrated, guys. I mean, I think we've seen that early in the season. And when they get into their conference, they might get exposed. So I'm not hanging my hat on that one win. And then also, like, the confidence in the guys. They came into the season with a ton of confidence. Even though we were young, we returned a core of guys that expect to win. We got to do something that injects that life back into the belief system that we can beat a team like DBU. We have them at home, which there should be an advantage there. DBU is going to likely win Coosa. You got to have a marquee series win to be able to put on the resume. And that's what I mean by we need to win the series. If we can't do it at the Teague, what are you going to do? Are you going to do it on the road? I don't think you can. And look, baseball is a game of momentum. If you can go in there and scratch 2 out of 3 against DBU, I don't care how you do it. I don't care if it's ugly as sin. If you can find a way to win 2 of 3 this weekend, it can change the course of the season. You saw it happen last year with Southern Miss. You saw it. It was Tulane. You saw the Tulane series after Debo hit the home run. That changed the way the trajectory of our season. We went in, we ended up beating Southern Miss at home and all this stuff. I don't think the season plays out that way if Debo doesn't hit that home run against Tulane. I think that was the turning point. And then we reeled off, 17 in a row. But again, it's a momentum game. Baseball is a funny sport. We have to find something to galvanize this offense. And we got to find something that reminds this pitching staff that, yeah, we got a bunch of dogs on the hill. And something has got to get this team playing team baseball. I think this is the perfect opportunity right before you go into conference play, get back to 500 or a game over. Look, I don't think we're going to sweep them, but find a way to win 2 out of 3, get somewhere around 500 and go into conference play and tell the young pups, look, we're right where we want to be. We're 500. You're going to play in a great league. You know you can win. Let's go.
Lane, your thoughts, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Is this a must-win weekend, a must-win week, or are we hitting the panic button too soon?
I think it's a must-win series. You don't get this opportunity to play many ranked teams, especially at home. And with Troy, playing Troy at home next week, that's another big series to win, especially to start off conference play right. But with the 2 best teams you're probably going to face in this weekend and next weekend, you have to get off on the right foot. Otherwise, you're hurting and you're going to be struggling to try to string some wins across for sure.
All right. I appreciate it, boys. That we'll go ahead and wrap that up and move on. We'll come back in a little bit. So start thinking about what you think our weekend series results will look like. In the meantime, we will move on to baseball around the Sun Belt Conference. Let's see what we have going on out there. Give me 1 second to pull that up. Obviously, we're recording this right before the Friday night game. So going on right now, Troy leads Upstate. Upstate what? I don't know what Upstate is, but Troy leads
South Carolina.
USC Upstate.
Leads them 9-8 in the 8th inning. So a little closer than I expected. Arkansas Pine Bluff visits Arkansas State for 3 games this weekend. They currently trail Arkansas State by... I just lost it. Hold on 1 second. They currently trail Arkansas State 8-2 in the 6th inning. And then also going on live now, Charlotte is up on James Madison. They have a 3-game series in Charlotte, up on JMU 2-0 in the 6th inning. Other games going on this weekend, or series, should I say, in Auburn, Alabama. Old Dominion travels to face Auburn. That game still TBA. I don't know if they have some issues going on there, but that's happening at some point today. In Charleston, South Carolina, App State travels to College of Charleston. That game happening a little bit later this afternoon, as well as East Carolina hosting Coastal Carolina. Marshall hosts Bradley for a 3-game series. Also, South Alabama travels to Louisiana Tech for a 3-game series. That will be an interesting set of games to watch in the Love Shack. Blech. In Atlanta, Georgia, Georgia State hosts Western Carolina for 3. Texas State travels to Campbell for a 3-game series. So that'll be another one that I'm sure I will have on my quad screen later tonight. I don't know what music's playing, but it sounds very soothing. Georgia Southern hosts Brown for 3 games this weekend, and UNCW is at Southern Miss. The last game of the weekend that I will mention is UTA at ULM. UTA, former Sun Belt Conference member, but we kicked their ass out. They said, got to go.
They offered nothing to the conference. Total waste of time.
UTA had some good baseball, though, man. Did they not?
They had a couple of years where they were relevant, but everything else, like they had that 1 year in basketball where they had that NBA guy and made a nice run, and then they fired Scott Cross, who is now at Troy winning.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, that wraps it up for the Sun Belt Conference. Some good, interesting matchups this weekend. Like I said, I'm going to have eyes on Louisiana Tech and also the Texas State Campbell series. So we'll see how that goes. South Alabama has kind of underperformed a little bit this season, I think. Without looking at what their record is. But at the top of my head, they're not doing so hot. So
they've been off the last couple of seasons, I think.
Yeah, would you think, I mean, and talking about that, their head coach, Mark Calvi, has done some great things over there. But they have a history of greatness, obviously, at South Alabama. And they're not the rival that they used to be, I think, because Mark Calvi's such a nice guy. You wonder if how much longer they're going to accept not making a regional in Mobile. It'll be interesting to see. Robe and I forgot I'm picturing his face. The last coach over there had some pretty good.
Kittrell.
Had some pretty. Yeah, Kittrell, Steve Kittrell. I saw him at the beach one year, I think, in Gulf Shores, and he saw my USL cap at the time because I'm old. I went to USL, and he kind of gave me shit about it, and I appreciated that. So Kittrell's a good dude, but man, he and Robe did not like each other on the diamond. Like outside of that, they respected each other immensely, but yeah, they weren't going to be going to dinner together after games.
We need to get South Alabama back because the schedule is just so much softer with the way that they're playing the last 3-4 years. I mean, imagine having South Alabama at their peak and Southern Miss, the way they are right now in our rivalry. I mean, there's really no breaks. Troy, obviously, playing great baseball. You see, and I hate to say this, but Marshall's really improving since, I know that they don't put a ton of investment in their program, but they have lately, and they're already making some big strides. I mean, it took 2 out of 3 from Georgia Tech a couple weekends ago. And I know they're on the east side, but when we start doing the East Coast or the east and west side, I mean, ODU, quality baseball. App State has gotten much better, much more competitive. JMU swept us a couple years ago. Look, this is a great league, and I know we had a bad week last week, but this is, if you look at the slate this weekend, it's going to be very interesting. I think, again, the Cajuns and DBU are probably the marquee series. Don't sleep on that UNC Wilmington Southern Miss series. I think that's going to be a good series. I really do.
Oh, I'm going to have that on especially since I gave them money, Destiny Blackwell. But
saw that.
Yeah, that's a whole story.
Fire.
Yeah, but look, if I bet somebody something and I lose the bet, I'm gonna follow through and give them money. So I gave Southern Miss money this weekend, but no, I'm gonna have that. It was something stupid like whether or not the goose would honk or they would, the Southern Miss goose, who I love. He's probably watching right now, but like it was whether or not he would honk or he would hiss, and he ended up hissing at me, and I said he would honk, so I lost the bet.
I mean, it's what you signed up for.
Hey,
Lane,
you know what?
We're gonna have to do like we'll do this later on, like as the season goes, but we'll do like a RPI update. Maybe we can start guessing like where we are at the time.
That's a good one. I like that.
We'll figure out an RPI game.
Yeah, I got a lot of games in my head. I just got to put it all together. Ideas are easy. Execution is a lot harder. I'm finding that out when it comes in the creative world. Turning our attention to softball this weekend, man, that was ugly. On I think it was Wednesday night. Let me pull up that score. Unfortunately, I have to pull up that score. But losing to Mississippi State in Starkville, 14-1 in 5 innings, boys. That was ugly and not what you expect from Raging Cajun softball. You can kind of look past it when you're playing number 1 Texas, but against number 22 Mississippi State. That was just straight up ugly, and it doesn't get easier this weekend. They move on to face some good teams in the Spring Break Showdown. How many damn tournaments do they have in softball? I don't know, but a lot. They're actually, I don't know. I will leave this to you, Lane, to look up what the Cajuns did today, because I think they played Iowa earlier, and then number 21 Alabama, that was set for 4:00. So I'm not sure if that game has gotten underway yet. And then they play Iowa and Alabama again over the next couple of days. And then, of course, LSU and Marshall next week. But do you have any updates on those games yet? If not, not a big deal. I was just curious if we had any updates.
I'm looking at it real quick. Give me 1 second.
All right.
Tuscaloosa hosting the regional? I'm sorry, not regional. Multi-team event.
Yeah, it is in Tuscaloosa, and I just thought it's interesting we're only playing two teams. Like usually play 3 or 4 or whatever. But yeah, only 4 games scheduled, Iowa and Alabama. So I'm sure that'll be really cool for I'm sure that's really cool for Allie to go back home. And I say go back home. I mean, her home is here, but she was with Alabama for so long. I mean, that's got to be freaking cool, man.
So we lost to Iowa 4-2 at the 2:00 game. And we just got to the bottom of the first in the Alabama game, 0-0.
Yeah. I mean, we all knew this would be...
Would you take an Iowa loss for Alabama win? I think I would.
Yeah, but you knew we're going to win some games we probably shouldn't and lose some games we probably shouldn't this year. Focus has got to be in conference at this point, so hopefully the ladies put it together. But that is what's going on. And look, we have I don't want to give it away because I don't want to ruin anything, but we have some big things coming next week in the softball world. So you guys stay tuned for that. I think some heads are going to explode if we follow through and execute with that. But looking forward to some softball content coming early next week. Please stay tuned for that. Let's turn our attention to women's basketball and men's basketball in the conference tournament. Women went, I think, one and done, right? And then the men ended up winning against ULM, which of course we own ULM at pretty much everything, and then dropping the game to Old Dominion. I think, look, first of all, credit to the coaching staff for holding it. I mean, Zim, not just Zim. I think Zim did a hell of a job keeping the roster in place this year, keeping them motivated, getting the guys wanting to play. So the results may not be indicative of the job he did as head coach this year or interim head coach, but I do credit Mike, the rest of the staff on keeping the guys together, focused, and, winning a game in the conference tournament. Josh, there's obviously names being thrown out there. We're hearing, White. We're hearing the guy that we shall not name that you interviewed earlier this season. We've heard a couple of names in the coaching search world, and some of the questions are: is Zim going to get the job? The answer to me is no. I don't think Zim's going to get the job. I think Zim still has a couple of years of coaching. He probably needs to get under his belt, but I think I think maybe a head coach at a smaller, maybe a Division II, maybe a smaller program might get his feet wet a little bit more to kind of work out those kinks. I think he's a great guy. I'd love to keep him around if we could, but I don't think he's going to be the head coach of UL next season. Your thoughts on Zim, the job he's done, the coaching staff has done, and then kind of who you think might be in the running for head coach for the Cajuns basketball team next year.
I have a little bit of a different take. I wouldn't hate hiring Zimmerman in a different world. If Zimmerman's resume, if we did blind resume and he wasn't on staff and hired by Marlin, I think on paper, the guy really checks a lot of boxes. And, obviously we'd have never known how the guys played for him and reacted to him and all that stuff. But I think that on paper, I'd have been fine with him if you change his name and has the same resume. I think most people would say, wow, this guy has a pretty impressive history in the game. Let's give him a shot. But I agree with the people that say, it's time for a complete and total overhaul. We need to start from scratch. There's too many open wounds that need to be dealt with. Like the changeover to Zimmerman it's got tentacles to Bob Marlin. And I think that it just needs to be totally and completely whitewashed, clean slate, start over. So in that regard, I don't think it's going to be Zim. And unfortunately, I don't think that this is the time for him. I don't think this is his time. My guys that I wanted.
But before you go on, Josh, I just want to say, if it is Zim, I'm not going to be pissed. Like, I like the guy. I'm going to be okay with it, right? I just don't think he's the guy, like you said, at this time for this program. I think if he gets a couple another years under his belt and comes and coaches us eventually down the line, totally about that. But I won't be disappointed if he does end up getting it.
Sure. But I think his abilities were put on display. I thought the fact that the team had a first round bye and was able to win a game in the tournament and make the tournament, honestly, because it was such a disaster with injuries and the turmoil and the basketball rebounder stuff and all that in the 15-year history, like it really was an insurmountable obstacle. It was, and they found a way to make the season somewhat interesting and win some games they shouldn't have, beating Troy in that late game in that late season game with them. They had no business winning that game, and they found a way to do so. So they were competitive throughout. There was a few games that got away from them, but overall they competed in the league. I mean, you can't overlook that. I think with what he was given, he maximized about as well as he could have. So that is my thought on him. I think that somebody else needs the job now. I don't think that any of the guys that I want are going to get the job, unfortunately, because it sounds like we want something completely different than what fans want, and that's fine. I don't get paid to make those decisions, but I think ultimately, if you're telling me you're going to hire a splash, which is, by the way, what the rumor is, where we've got our guy, hasn't been announced yet, but it's a splash hire, A splash hire to me is a household name across the nation, and anybody can sit down on their couch and hear the announcement of a person and then know his name. That's a splash hire to me. What sounds like is a splash hire to them is Quantas White. And I know that Brian went to visit him a couple of times. We also know that he turned down Brian a couple of times. I know we were after him hard. I think that does absolutely nothing for the fan base. If you want to look at it from strictly wins and losses, maybe the guy's successful. We don't know, but maybe he'll be successful. And that's fine, and that's part of it, and I want to win. Don't get me wrong. I've said here, and I said on my show, and I've talked to people in person, and to me, at this moment, at this juncture in Cajuns basketball, getting the community back involved is the number one priority. Getting investment back into your program is the number 1A priority. Getting people to understand that our ceiling is not barely making the conference tournament or sneaking our way into the dance is priority 1B. Winning with a name that people don't have an association with. I know he was here on staff before, but is he going to move to Lafayette? Is he going to make himself part of the community? What's that going to go like? When you hear Quantas White, how do you feel? I can tell you personally, no shot at the guy. I don't know a thing about Quantas White, not a thing, but I don't feel anything. That doesn't move the needle for me, who is a diehard Cajuns fan, a diehard Cajuns basketball fan for 30 plus years. It's nothing. And I'm not advocating for Brad Boyd. I'm not advocating for anybody. I'm just saying that name matters, profile matters, and if your number one goal is to get the community to buy back into your program, I don't think Quantas White does that. Maybe going on a 15-game win streak does, and that's yet to be seen. But we talk about winning the event, winning the press conference. Hiring Quantas White doesn't do that for me. Now, that's me. There's a few others I've had this conversation with. They pretty much feel the same. And obviously, I'm biased because I want other guys, but I don't think it does anything, man. I'll be honest with you. And it makes me – I don't understand why they're so hard after this one candidate. I know the people that have applied for the job, and I know the people who want the job, and I know what boxes they check. And he doesn't check the same boxes that a lot of the other guys do. So, I don't know, man. Having a good agent goes a long way, and maybe that's the deal. And I know Kelvin Sampson has been pushing Quantas White to bigger jobs, which is one of the reasons why he turned down Brian a few times. I don't know if it was the price point. I don't know if it was an assistant pool. They didn't have enough money for the assistants that he wanted. I don't know if it's an NIL bank account. I don't know if it's a recruiting pipeline. All of that plays into it. All I know is they're running around telling people that they have a splash hire, and from all accounts, the splash hire is Quantas White. If those two things are true, the delusion is real. That name does nothing to get me engaged as a local fan, and I personally don't think it's going to do anything to get the community at large interested in Cajuns basketball again. And that's my thought.
Lane, is that a splash hire to you? What is a splash hire? To me, a splash hire is somebody who is going to come off a natty as an assistant coach and coach our team, kind of like Jesse Evans did. To me, that was a splash hire. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, cool. But I mean, like Josh said, I don't know anything about the guy other than he's an assistant at Houston. I've heard some of the names that have applied for the job and interviewed, and I feel like some of them would be a little bit better, especially guys that can interact with the community, which we've always said is a big thing, no matter what the sport is. If you don't get the community involved, people aren't going to show up. And we saw this year, and even in years past, that the attendance has been an issue severely in basketball, and you have to have somebody in the community trying to get people to come to the game, and it just didn't happen. And I mean, people might show up when we win, but it's not just about winning here, at least. I feel like you have to get somebody that can bring people in, and I don't really think that Quantas can do that. Maybe. I
mean, I'm not to say that he couldn't, right? And he wouldn't be successful. I just think if you're teasing a splash hire, it needs to be a splash hire, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's for me, like what you're saying and what you're executing might be two different things, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know how this will play out. I know nothing. I mean, I've been getting most of my information from third-party sources. Josh has great contacts, so he knows a lot more than me. So we'll see how it plays out. And like I said, I'm gonna give whoever it is that gets the job a fighting chance to win us over.
Sure,
he might be great. You
we'll
know,
give him a chance.
Right? But don't tell us you're making a splash higher if you're not making a splash higher.
Because you know what's gonna happen.
Do you quantify as a splash higher?
Exactly. And you know what the regular common fan will say, "Oh yeah, big freaking splash higher." That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, why not just go about it and say we have a guy we think is going to win, and deal with, maybe it takes him 2 years to get buy-in. But to Lane's point, you can't make a gumbo without a roux. You will never win in this town. You will never win and make the game an event and get a real home court advantage unless you go out and get the community involved. Yeah, you might be able to get 5,000 when the Cajun Chicken decides to come out of retirement every 3 years, but you will never win consistently. And until these bureaucrats in Martin Hall and the people over at the Cox building understand that the only way to win, you got to first find somebody who is going to get people back to the Cajun Dome. That is the number one thing. You also have to stop the hemorrhage of money that's flowing out of the Cajun Dome. You got to get that investment back into the program. You're in this sport more than all, you have to have the NIL budget. Because in football, you have way more involvement. There are more local businesses involved. Baseball is its own thing. Softball, the same. In basketball, NIL specifically in Lafayette, you got to have money. You got to. And you got, maybe that is his value. Maybe Quantas White has a plan to have money for NIL, and recruiting goes a whole long way. Still, if you don't get the community to come to your games, you will not win consistently. You're not going to do it. I'm sorry. I will not believe any other way. You got to have an advantage at home for basketball games to win. Not in the Sun Belt. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about like getting the schedule back to where it needs to be, having real teams come and play you in your home dome, and then winning in conference. You're not ever going to do that without buy-in. Marlon proved that.
I will say it'll be interesting to see, no matter who we get as a coach, how their scheduling philosophy is different from Marlon. Because I mean, there was rumors that when Keith Gill came in that he was going to help with the out of conference scheduling, and that didn't really happen. And then Marlon was trying to do his own thing. That didn't really work. So it'll be interesting to see like how that plays out for sure.
Well, here's my question. I don't think basketball I don't think the team is, or the coaches are responsible for scheduling. Isn't that on Maggard maybe in conjunction? But correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't think it's fully on the coaching staff, but I mean, I'm sure they have some.
So it's not like football where, yeah.
Historically, the coaches have made the schedules. One thing that Brian said, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, is that he was going to be intimately involved in schedule making. The schedule has been exactly the same, if not worse.
Well, we're definitely going to an island every year.
So. Well, that's the boosters. And I swear to God, it's the boosters. Keith Gill did a great job. Yeah, right. Keith Gill did a great job getting Southern Miss, ODU, Marshall, and the other team to come into the league. He did you got to give him credit for that. Outside of that, nothing. Baseball is its own thing. Keith Gill has nothing to do with baseball being good. Really, nobody does. The problem here is that we have a commissioner who's supposed to come from the ASUN to come in and fix basketball. He's not done anything. Basketball has gotten worse since Keith Gill became the commissioner, outside of one single solitary year where Southern Miss decided to be good at the same time we were. Look, the league's bad. It's worse than bad. It's a below average league. We should be winning 25 games a year in this league, and yet we're still stuck in purgatory because we can't figure out how to schedule. We can't figure out that playing good teams on the road helps us win in the conference. We can't basically do what baseball does and schedule up so it makes us better down the road. Does Quest White have better connections in the coaching world to where schedules will be better? I would say that's probably a yes. He's a younger guy. He's coached under Kelvin Sampson, who has all the contacts. People have a ton of respect for Sampson. But it can't get worse than what Marlon was. So, number one, I'm going to give the guy a chance if it's him. Number two, I'm hopeful that scheduling will improve immediately. Because in some cases, it's year to year. I think I think that he can be successful. He needs to understand the community has to buy in. So I'm not saying that he can't do it, but I am saying that he's going to have to be overly aware that this is a crucial part of success in Lafayette.
Yeah, I'm tired of Bryce had a great point there, and I'm gonna share that. I mean, I'm tired of playing D3 schools. I'm tired of playing Louisiana College. Nothing against them, fine. Loyola of New Orleans doesn't impress me. I want to see us play. If we have to go on the road and play a Miami and get our asses beat, or play a Tech, at least I'm watching the game. That is going to get eyes on television. That is how you build a fan base. You don't build a fan base by hosting Louisiana College. Nobody's showing up for that. So I agree with you. Right. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go and get our ass kicked every year, but I think you can find some attractive maybe 2-1s with schools that are tweeners, and maybe they're great football schools, but not necessarily middle of the road, maybe basketball schools, but it's a name and it gets people to the Dome. And if you do a home and home with the Nebraska, I mean, hell, I don't know if Nebraska is good in basketball, but it's Nebraska and people are going to show up because they know Nebraska. I think if you go that route, that would be great. But again, I don't know the intricacies. All I know is that other teams are doing it and we're not. And same in football, man. Yeah. And same
all you
in
need
football.
to know is that our peers are doing it and we can't do it.
Right.
And I don't care about the excuses that they're going to feed you. I'm sure there'll be a plethora of reasons why we can't do what Southern Miss can do or what ODU can do or what freaking Texas State can do.
NC State can go to NC State can go to App State. And I get it. They're not SEC teams, but Mississippi State can travel, it's interesting. Oh, look, we got a call from some idiot calling in on some guy calling in. Jerry, what's up, buddy? What's going on, brother?
Radio silence, Nick. Jerry, you never sound so good.
Hey, Jerry, can you give me a second? Can you just go ahead and repeat everything that you said because I had you on the wrong pot?
Oh, all good.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, I just want to say, man, you guys are doing a great job holding the fort down. Sorry I couldn't make it. I've been nonstop all day, really the last couple of days. Good things happening, of course, as you guys already know. But we're going to celebrate tonight. I just tuned in just in time. Y'all were talking about basketball. And there was a podcast that Coach Marlin was on about a few weeks ago.
Oh, he's doing podcasts now?
Like
That's interesting. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And one of the things he mentioned about scheduling was, I think he said something along the lines of every time one of his assistants tried to schedule a big name team or a bigger school, that the other schools would say no because of Bob Marlin. That's what he claimed. And I'm like, geez.
I believe that, actually.
This. But
is he saying they were scared of him, or are they saying they just didn't like, is he admitting that other coaches didn't like him? Is that where we're going with this?
No, I think it's the first one.
Oh, that they didn't want to because he's such a good coach. Oh, I got you.
But we know the truth
I'll send you
is
the clip. I'll send you guys. When we get off the air, I'll send you the clip. But,
yeah, maybe. You know what? On the audio version, when you send me that clip, I'll go ahead and insert it right here and then come back to your comments. But go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, we could talk about it whenever, because I know we're going to be hiring a coach really soon. But I do want to say real quickly that I think this weekend, I know y'all probably talked about baseball already, but I think the best way the coaching staff described Dallas Baptist the other day at the Diamond Club luncheon was UC Irvine on steroids. So take that for what it's worth.
That's illegal.
We're going to have to be on our P's and Q's this weekend. I look forward to seeing how tonight rolls out, especially since Simo is out for a little while. I don't know how long he's out. I know he had some tendonitis, but I think they said they're going with Hammer tonight, right? And they're going to pitch by committee, kind of like Wednesday, right? Is that the plan for tonight?
I guess. We're going with Hammer to start, but we have no idea the rest of the weekend. That's an
awful plan if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
Against a number 17 team in the country. That's not feeling great.
Yeah, but anyway, back to basketball. I tuned in right when Josh made the comment of, you have to win, you have to attract good teams, and you got to beat decent teams to get people interested. Beating John Melvin by 50 points at home in front of 100 people is not going to get people interested. I tell you, 2 years ago, what got people's eyes open was when we went to SMU on the road and beat them. And we went to overtime and beat them. And that opened everybody's eyes. I think you need a win like that every year if you want to get people interested and kind of put eyes on our team and go, all right, they look for real. So, yeah, I'm interested to see who the coach is. I know Quantus White is the big name everybody's talking about right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he's holding out for maybe a bigger opportunity. I hope Brian has, a plan B or plan C just in case that doesn't work out. But I guess in the next week or two, we'll find out. I'm interested to see what we're going to pay him. But the goal is to get fans back in the stands, people buying tickets again. The coach needs to go out in the community, kind of do what HUD did when he first got here, sell the brand, sell the team, get fans excited, and get them to invest in NIL. Right now we're struggling with NIL in basketball. I mean, we made some money, but it's not enough. But, yeah, that's going to be interesting. But anyway, guys, just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job as always. I'll be back next week to join. I know we got Nick, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We got some big things to start the week off. Looking forward to that. And I'll see you guys at the ballpark this weekend.
All right, Jerry, have fun. We'll see you there. Josh, before we move on, because I think we've spent enough time talking about basketball, we've got a comment from Robershow, and I agree with him. We need to go after schools that are consistently playing in March. And I agree. It can be a Marquette. It can be a Villanova. I don't know if you're going to get a home and home. It might be a 2-1, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a big name. It could just be something who is consistently good at basketball. I mean, hell, who was it? Was it Campbell a couple years ago in basketball, or the Loyola Marymount that went on that crazy, for a couple years with the sister, whatever her name is, Loyola Chicago. Yeah. So just stuff like getting creative with it. You can have some solid teams that you've seen on TV and get some buzz in the community. But I think that's what's missing. It's missing in a few spaces, but especially in baseball, buzz in the community. I think we got to find a way to get that back. So
I think if Quantus White comes in and fixes relationships with scheduling, that's a huge win.
Yeah.
Period. Can we play D1 teams just in Louisiana? Great. How about just in Texas? How about just in Mississippi? I'll take that. You can fill out an entire schedule out of conference with those 3 states for like 3 or 4 years. Tulane should be on the schedule every year. We should find a way to play a TSAB 2-1.
We can do La Tech. I mean, people will show up for Tulane or Tech, or it doesn't have to be a super huge name, but I don't know, man.
Not what we've been playing. Even the SWAC teams, that's a waste of time. The NAIA schools, a waste of time. That's a waste of time. And then you're charging people regular season tickets for that. I mean, that is a scam. You want to get people back in the dome? Quit charging for that. Nobody should pay full price to watch Dillard. I think that's an all-women's school. That's the joke, boy. But nobody should be can we treat our fans not like cattle and more like human beings? Maybe that's a good start. But anyway, I know we talked about basketball. Can we get back to baseball? We have anything? Well, we're about to play the number 17 team in about an hour.
One more thing about basketball. Let's talk about Gary Broadhead, because again, one and done in the conference tournament. Is his seat getting warm, Josh? I mean, I think maybe we should start having those thoughts and conversations. But again, it's women's basketball. I mean, Gay Nix coached here in basketball for 10 years and went like 27 and 140, and she just retired. She didn't get fired. So, is Broadhead on the hot seat in the next couple of years or not?
This is going to sound terrible, but I'm going to just be honest. If for sports like that don't draw crowds and don't generate revenue, are we hemorrhaging money in women's basketball? I mean, they play in the same spot as the men, so they have to be spending a ton of money. I know that they play a bunch of games in Earl K. Long a few years ago. Are we doing that? I guess the better question is how much money is it costing us to run a women's basketball program? And if we're not breaking even, I know we're not breaking even, but if we can't even be 500 as a women's basketball program, then we should start talking about a coaching change. If it's really kind of inconsequential, why even worry about it? I mean, Gary wants to be here. He's local, whatever. If we can win every couple of years, the problem is that nobody really cares enough to make any noise about it. I'm not going to spend my emotional capital trying to figure out where, how can we find another Jim Kelly Hall? It's not an important thing to me. I want to resurrect men's basketball so we can not lose money on that sport, which is supposed to be the number 2 revenue generator. That's kind of like the extent of my thought on that.
Josh's blood pressure is up, so we need to move on. Lane, I'll give you just yes or no. Is Broadhead on the hot seat for the next couple of years? Yes or no?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. All right, Josh. Two more things, and then we'll close it down because I don't want to get in the way of pregame on the radio side. So first thing I will ask you boys, look, the last few weeks we have seen some bad officiating. I mean, we saw it at UCI. That was probably the worst. Actually, the home plate umpire on Sunday was probably the best one that they had out of the bunch. I thought he was not great, but he was consistent. The other two guys were absolutely awful. And then in the conference tournaments, they just continue to be bad on the basketball side. My question to you, I'll start with you, Josh. Your thoughts. I mean, obviously, we criticize the officials when they should be criticized. If you don't hear us bitching about it, that means they did their job. What is the sport in the Sun Belt that we have the worst officials? Is it? I would think it's basketball by a long shot, with football a close second. But your thoughts in that regard?
Now, I know these are not officials for the Sun Belt, but my God, did it not feel like
in general, playing Sun Belt teams, right?
The Irvine crew felt like they had it out for us. And I don't typically say that. Like, I don't typically say, oh, yeah, they really wanted us to lose the game, because I don't really feel like that. But that crew specifically, like the way they checked the gloves for substance, and the conversation with Deggs about coaching his team and tossing him in the first inning. And then
the way he pointed to home plate when they called that stupid balk that I don't think was a balk that he got tossed for, the way he pointed
because
to it.
Because that rule is never enforced.
No.
That rule, that is an archaic rule that literally nobody follows. That, and then you had there were some other moments, but they just seem to have it out for us, and I haven't seen that in a very long time. Like, it's been a while. But overall, I think college basketball as a whole, but specific to the Sun Belt, it's unwatchable. And I think a big part of that is because of the officiating. First of all, you don't know what you're going to get from one game to the other, one half to the other, kind of like we talked about before. But it continues to get worse, I feel like. Talk about ruin a game, and then the way we have to review everything, it kills momentum. I think officiating in college basketball has ruined the experience, and specifically in the Sun Belt has made it unwatchable. And they don't even know the rules. Baseball, to me, is a close second, Nick. It had gotten better for a while, like 2010 to 2015-ish. It had gotten better. But now we're back to 3 umpires, and that's on the coaches, so I'm not blaming anybody.
And I was going to say, that, to me, is the biggest issue that you have there.
We're back to 3, and they're as bad as they've ever been. So I think the quality could increase with 4, sure, but overall, just the strike zone so all over the place. We had a segment about TrackMan last week. If TrackMan is contributing to how they try to call the games, that is a mistake. But just in general, like, just something as small as check swings, where I'm literally looking at the first base umpire on a right-handed batter, and he's not even looking at the batter, and they look over him for an appeal, and he goes safe. Like, dude, I saw you not seeing it. So, like, if you don't see it, look over to somebody and say, I didn't see it. Like, give me some kind of transparency. It's ridiculous. It's so
Or the guy
bad.
behind the pitcher saying he swung. Like, how can you see that from behind the pitcher? There's
literally
no way.
impossible to see if he swung when you're standing in the middle of the field.
But, Josh, talking about baseball, what is the reason that we went to 3 umpires? Money.
Coaches
so
wanted
that
to,
tells
they had to
me
make cuts.
If they're making cuts and trying to save money, they're not getting the cream of the crop in baseball umpires. I mean, to me, that's reality.
Okay, so where's Keith Gill in all this? Like, if guys had to make a cut, name another conference that's top 5 in any sport. How about we get some support from the league commissioner? We got to get some influx of money to be able to afford officiating somehow or another. You telling me we can't do that? We can't fundraise for that? You have a top 5 RPI league in this. This is the only one in the entirety of all programs. Like, can we get some support? Probably not, because he's a basketball guy. He probably didn't care about stick and ball.
Well, he's a basketball guy, but look at what we're doing in basketball. I mean,
well, that tells you a lot about quality. But yeah, I agree with you. It's bad, man. Like, and I think the vote's coming up again. It's time to go back to 4. Regardless of what your budget looks like, the quality of baseball is literally taking a hit because we can't officiate the game properly.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Did they, I mean, is it going to be 3 this season as well?
It is this season, yeah.
Unbelievable. That's just terrible. Lane, your thoughts? What are the worst officials in the Sun Belt? What sport? I guess give me your top 2.
I think especially after watching the game against ULM, kind of solidified my opinion. Basketball refs are the worst in the league, and then baseball is a close second. the play that I'm referencing in basketball, they claimed it was a shot clock violation because they claimed it didn't hit the rim. In real time, it hit the rim. And even when they showed the replay, it hit the rim. And they still called it a shot clock violation. I'm like, are we looking at the same thing? Like, it just made no sense whatsoever. But baseball umpiring has to get better. I mean, yes, we joke around a lot of times saying that, that was a strike, whatever. But there are a lot of cases where the umpires just don't know what they're doing.
And I agree with you, but I would say number one is basketball, just because Saturday night in the Sun Belt is a motto across the entire league. So if everyone is saying the same thing, they could maybe argue with baseball or football, but when everybody's saying the same thing, that's why I put basketball.
They also missed the 6-on-5 when we played Western Kentucky. So
that was awesome. That was way back in the day, but still, it was pretty amazing.
Lane is correct. That game against ULM was egregious. I mean, how many times, and some of it benefited us, so I'm not going to complain, but like the walk on Mo at the end of the game, he literally took like 5 steps, no call on the travel. Mike Thomas was getting in the lane, fell down, spun, took 2 more steps, laid it up. And all these things happened within like a 2-minute stretch of each other. It was so bad.
I totally agree. All right, boys, final thoughts on the weekend series. I want to know what you think the results will be. If any of you say we will sweep Dallas Baptist, I'll probably throw something at my screen. That's something that Jerry would say just to piss me off. But we'll start with you, Lane. Your thoughts on what we will do as far as will we go 2-1, 1-2? Your thoughts on this weekend against DBU?
I think in order for us to have a successful weekend, we need to go 2-1. I feel like we'll win tonight, lose tomorrow, and then win with our TVA pitcher on Sunday.
Josh, your thoughts?
I'll be the one to provide the bulletin board material this week. Are we going to be honest with ourselves, or are we going to fan out? Like, I know we're a fan podcast, but we can also tell the truth. I think come Monday morning, you're going to have some people lined up on the Pinhook Bridge ready to jump. That's what I think. We're not playing a baseball right now, fellas. I mean, even though we won this week, but it wasn't a quality game. We're not playing quality baseball. We're not pitching it. We're not catching it. We're not hitting it. I mean, that's just a fact. I hope that we jump out of our slumps. I hope that we can string together some chaos and spin the game. But based on the injury to SEMO, based on the struggles at the plate, and little to no hope for change, I'm wondering if we can win a game. I'm wondering if we can win a game. I think at best, maybe we scratch one on Sunday. At best. I don't see how Johnny staff anything this weekend. They have too much power. They have too much quality up and down the lineup, and they're older. They have a lot of veteran leadership on this team. They have a 1.21 whip as a team. As a team, their whip is 121, and their earned run average is 3.72. We've struggled to hit mediocre midweek pitching, and we're about to try to go and get 2 out of 3 from a team like this. I don't know, man. I don't see it. I think we might scratch out one, but I think in the end, if you're asking me, I think it's going to be a dark Monday in Lafayette.
I appreciate the honesty. I think, look, I'm going to be realistic. I think we win 1 of 2. I'm with you. I think not having SEMO in there tonight gives me a lot of pause. I think we maybe win the Saturday game, depending on if SEMO's back on Sunday, then it might be the Sunday game. But look, if we could go 2-1, and I would be very excited with that. But I just think, like you said, too many issues out there. I think 1-2 might be where we end up. And then, maybe we turn it around as we do every year. Once we get to conference, we usually have one tough conference series where we poo-poo the bed and then run it up the rest of the season. So we'll see. Hopefully we get the 2-1 this weekend, but 1-2 rather might be unfortunately the case, but we'll let it all play out. Josh, before we go, one last thought.
Yeah, and look, by the way, I would love to be proven wrong. Bookmark this episode and come back and get me for saying that. I want to give a shout out to some dudes. Jackson Azu, Kyle DeBarge, Julian Brock, Carson Rockefort, and Tyler Robertson, all at spring training with big league clubs. Shout out to them, making their mark on the show. Thought they needed to be shouted out.
And Hogan Harris, come on, man.
Yeah, but he's been a big leaguer. He's a big leaguer.
You still got to give my man some love. By the way, that
Hoagie,
stadium,
Spencer,
that stadium
Getty.
that stadium in Las Vegas for the A's looks amazing. So we'll see. We'll see how.
Shout out to the young guys that are getting the chance in spring training. Proud of y'all. Happy to be associated with guys like that.
And Brock, Brock wanted 3 catchers on the roster this spring training. So making some noise. Boys, it has been fun. We'll close it out for today and let you listen to pregame with Jay and those folks. That about wraps it up for this week. We'll come back after and give you our thoughts once we find out if we were right on our predictions this weekend. That'll be fun to revisit in a couple days. But for Lane, for Jerry who dialed in, for Comrade Cole, aka Josh, aka Cole, aka Man About Town, aka Matt. Man, we got to stick with one name for you. I'm Nick. Y'all have fun tonight. Raise some hell, Section A, and of course, as always, go Cajuns.